It's just after 4 o'clock on Wednesday, April 27th. The building over there is familiar to people who've been following these videos, although you're seeing a side of it that hasn't been published before. And it turns out to be a Google building in Mountain View. And I'm back at the same place that I've begun hikes twice before, trying to find a third trail here that will take me in toward Santa Clara. And I don't think it goes across the Alviso, but I originally thought that it probably would, and I want to find that out today too. Not sure if I'll be able to walk that far today or not. I'm starting late because it is a working day, and I figured after 6 o'clock it would be a lot easier to get back to San Jose than it would be now or any time between now and at least 6 o'clock and probably even 7 o'clock. But I don't expect to be walking until 7, but I'll see how it goes. It's a quite breezy day, and I think the microphone for this camera is on the front of the camera, so it might be very hard to hear what I'm saying, as the wind might be blowing directly into the microphone. Of course, over there is Moffett Field again, the NASA headquarters in this area, and the end of the bay that way, and Alviso farther that way, but we can't really see Alviso from here. I just know that's where it is. Both of my previous hikes that began near here began over there where the man in the orange shirt or sweater is walking, and they began on Sundays, and because of that I thought maybe these buildings were mostly unrented, but now I see that the parking lot is very crowded, not by any means full, but maybe 80% full. So that's quite a bit more than I expected while working there. And of course these buses are still visible here. And for all I know, those buses might even be leased to or owned by Google. But just guessing, just wondering actually, not even guessing. This is actually Stevens Creek Trail, the end of it, or the beginning of it, depending on your perspective. And the Bayshore Trail will be up there, and going the southerly direction from it, I should be able to get to at least Santa Clara. Well, these maps are not very helpful because they both end about where we are beginning. So there's no indication whether we can get to Santa Clara or Alviso from here or not by trail. But this is the beginning of the Bay Trail, or the end of it. Here, that it goes over that bridge, which we've been on before on one of my hikes. Now, just on the other side of the footbridge, it seems that the trail goes in through Moffett Field in that direction, and then back into the bay in this direction, and this might eventually connect up with where I left off on the Alviso Trail almost 2 weeks ago, but I'm not sure. No map is telling us. Even trying to find it on Google Maps is very unsatisfactory, I guess I should say. Well, in keeping with this being a nature trail, or nature walk rather, there is a snowy egret, a very large one, that just took off in time for the camera to catch it. Very graceful landing. Well, to my surprise, the trail turns sharply to the right here, and that is a more direct southern route toward Santa Clara. And in fact, I can plainly see with the naked eye, but probably the camera's not picking it up, the two buildings that I have been describing in the past as looking empty. And they are right at the end of Santa Clara, but near Alviso, close enough to Alviso to walk to from Alviso. So this is interesting. The plot thickens. And this is a hunting area, but this is not the hunting season. Duck hunting and goose hunting, perhaps. Interesting picture over the water toward Moffett Field. Just passed by two bicyclists. Looks like there used to be a walkway all the way over this section of water to the land on the other side, but many of the boards are gone now, so you couldn't walk over it by any means now. It looks like there are duck blinds in the water here and there, which hunters probably use to sit in to hide from the ducks. What else could they be? Could be anything for all I know. And here's the first big turn in the trail. And from this perspective, you can see the shoreline amphitheater on the right side of the picture now. The Google building slightly to the left. This trail seems very expansive. You have to for how big it is when you're on the Stevens Creek Trail, passing it on the side. But here we are passing it on the rear, so to speak. This may be the front from the airplane's point of view. I don't know if they come down over the bay into the landing strips there or not, but probably they do. Or they probably use either, depending on the weather and other conditions. Fremont, straight ahead, looks pretty close. And I'm not sure I can even see the two twin buildings that I consider vacant in Santa Clara now, although they may be sitting out there at the top of those trees. Another sharp turn in the trail, and it looks like it takes us right toward Moffett Field, the southern end of Moffett Field. Bicyclists coming toward me that way, and I see some trail users that way. I'm not sure if they're walkers or bikers. So, onward and forward. Well, just here is the end of the property line for NASA, restricted area by the order of the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, Moffett Field. So the impression I get now is that that trail I just took was kind of a bypass to keep people away from Moffett Field. I kind of guessed that at the beginning, but I didn't expect that it would come so close to Moffett Field at this end of the field. I was assuming it would come out much more that direction. And in that direction now I see the twin buildings that I call empty. Whether they are or not, I don't know. And they are right at the border of Santa Clara and Alviso, for point of reference. So in terms of walking, the trail from Alviso to Mountain View, no matter how you slice it, is going to be much longer than I originally guessed. I was thinking 3 or 4 miles at the top, and from this point of view, it looks like it's at least 6 or 7, because of all the turns around ponds like these. These aren't really directly into the bay, but they're marshes and ponds at the end of the bay. Another snowy egret over there on the bank. If I walk toward it, it'll fly away, as it just did. It didn't fly very far. There's its partner. I spooked them. Here's a pretty duck in the water that probably doesn't show up in the screen. Looks like a mallard. Another big turn in the trail here. Large plane sitting there on the field. This turn is turning towards Santa Clara again, but it's still pretty far to Santa Clara from here. But I'm not quite sure where here is, whether this is more Sunnyvale or Mountain View, I'm not sure. Sunnyvale is right next to Santa Clara on the north. And definitely the north side of Moffett Field is closer to Mountain View, which is the next city north of Sunnyvale. That plastic encased paper mile marker, 2.5 miles, probably put up for some kind of fundraising jog or walk on this trail. And I'm guessing that means I'm 2.5 miles from the beginning of the trail. When I first turned a sharp right turn toward Moffett Field. It looks like that duck that I said was maybe a mallard may have been a ruddy duck. I've heard of a ruddy duck before. But maybe this will be that's a northern shoveler. That's not a mallard. Forster's Fern, Western Sandpiper, I've seen enough of those, but not today. Double-breasted cormorant, and appleduck. This is yet another perspective of Moffett Field. Moffett Field was developed probably in the 1940s. World War II. It was a naval air station before the Air Force became another branch of the military. And the Navy had most of the planes at that time. And this part of it was recreational use of people who worked there. And of course, it's not a field anymore. It's NASA operations, but also people released part of it, I guess, for corporate use. Research probably and aviation related, but that's my story. Quite a river here right next to it. like there's a ditch between the double fences looking that way, so it's kind of a moat. In fact, maybe this is a moat too. Well, apparently even this portion of the trail that I've been on gets closed sometimes, probably for things that are happening on Moffett Field, or at least that may have been the case until it was demilitarized. There's a whole golf course here, it appears, on this end of it. So it must take up thousands of acres, all told. And here's a bridge that it looks like the trail must take. And just across from that bridge, we see this, the Don Edwards San Francisco Bay National Wildlife Refuge, Moffett Bay Trail. I hadn't seen that before. And indeed, the trail does go across this bridge and then right next to the fence there and continues on from there. I'm sure I have now gone over 3 miles since I turned on to the San Francisco Bay Trail, so I'm going to turn back. It's well over an hour since I began. But I am curious, and it looks like it'd be an interesting trail to take from here. But there's probably no parking anywhere near here to resume from this point. So I don't know if I'll ever get from Moffett Field over to Alviso or Santa Clara. But this is probably pretty much the end of Moffett Field. I'm going to walk to the corner of this fence here and see if there's any indication there whether this is the end of it or not. My phone will be dead before I get to the car, though after I turn back I won't bother recording much. Well, not exactly. Yet another turn to the south before the end of Moffett Field. And the fence looks like it goes on for, well, another 100 yards down there, perhaps. Alviso, where are ye? It's now 5:45, so it'll probably be 7 o'clock before I get back to the car, or shortly before that. A couple of joggers coming toward me. Still nowhere near around the peripheral of Moffett Field, of course. It's after 6 o'clock. I'm at the 2-mile mark. So 2 more miles back to the end of this trail, or the intersection of this trail with Stevens Creek. I'm not quite sure which. I did see a little snake, which I should report, this being a nature walk. The only snake I've seen on my trail walks. Looked like a little garter snake, about 1 foot long and not much wider than a pencil. Didn't hear that bicyclist coming up behind me at all, or didn't did I see it. Well, in the interest of nature, I should try to get some pictures of these birds. I don't know if they show up in the screen at all or not. They're small birds, but there are hundreds of them. They look like what we used to call barn swallows. flying in circles there. I don't know what caused them to get excited. I'm getting close to the Google building again. Boy, am I tired. And walking across that levee between the two ponds was very windy and tiresome in itself. But I'm finally back on the paved trail, Stevens Creek Trail, and probably about a half mile back to the car from here. I'm back in the car. It's 6:59, so my estimate was pretty close. Bicycle's still going by. I'm certainly tired, but probably better off for it.